on Facebook and on YouTube. We're having the crucial conversations that Erie needs here. And again, an extremely important institution in Erie County is Pennsylvania Western University at Edinboro. And we're glad to have the president of PennWest, John Anderson. Dr. Anderson is with us here via Zoom. Good to see you, sir. Thanks for being on the show.
I really appreciate the invitation, Joel, and I always look forward to talking to you and appreciate the good work you're doing spreading good news up in Erie.
Well, there's we appreciate that very much. I think you would agree that a university is one of those kind of quintessential community institutions that has local, right? I mean, you think about the borough of Edinboro and just people living there, professors, students, and so on. The pizza shop, John's Wildwood Pizza, and and the burger place and the borough bar and the whole bit. So you got the borough, then you got the region, you got the county, where so many, especially like teachers and communicators, a lot of broadcasters come out of Edinboro, right? And then you take the region where you've got kids from the mountains of central Pennsylvania or the suburbs of Pittsburgh or Philly that come here. It's got that quintessential impact regionally.
We are so lucky that each of our campuses, and especially Edinboro, is housed in a fantastic community. And you described it very well. Every university has a universe of people who are associated with it. We focus a lot on the students and the student experience, but we are one of the largest employers in that area. We have a lot of people who gain their employment, the opportunity to make a living through what we do. We host a significant number of community events, art events, athletic events. And so it's not just a place to learn, it's seriously a community hub. And we welcome that mission and welcome anybody to our community who wants to participate and benefit from being a part.
Beautiful. All right, we want to get right to the chase here because just a few weeks ago, a significant release was put out by PennWest. The headline, PennWest Advances Plan to Strengthen Students' Academic Performance. Again, the concept of three universities becoming one is a big new model, and now we're looking to change the academic array and match this design of the institution. Talk a little bit about all of that, kind of the fundamentals.
Sure. So the idea is once these three universities became one, we actually consider ourselves now having 4 campuses, 3 physical campuses, and a global online campus, which is actually our largest campus now. We are the largest provider of graduate education in all of PASSHE. We're the largest provider of online education in all of PASSHE. And when those 3 came together, each one had their own set of academic programs that they offered. Students could transfer between the 2, but the programs themselves weren't aligned. So in a very brief period of time during integration, all the programs were aligned, they were built out, they were offered on certain campuses in certain modalities. We are now 4 years into integration. And we're taking a pause to look back and say, the decisions that were made during integration, are they most beneficial to the communities? Are they most beneficial to the students? Are they programs that are designed in a way that a student is going to get an optimal experience so they'll be most prepared to make a meaningful contribution to the communities they live in and the organizations they serve? So with that prompting, we decided to look at every academic program, graduate, undergraduate, to make sure each class was contributing in the way that we hoped that it would. And the result of that is a recommendation we're evaluating now that came out of academic affairs to put a few programs into moratorium, to launch some new programs, to reshuffle some of the requirements within programs, to ensure that we're meeting what students need and what communities hope students have when they graduate.
The long and short of it is, again, according to the release, is that For undergrad, we've got 43 bachelor's degree majors. That's down from 47. We'll talk about what that makeup looks like. We're dropping the minors from 74 to 40, and then increasing undergraduate certificates from 19 to 37. Let's start with the bachelor's degrees. How many are actually being eliminated, and is there any new bachelor's degrees that you're adding to the full BAs and BSs?
Yes, we are putting a few programs into moratorium. What that means is we just won't admit new students to those programs. Every student who's a PennWest student will have the chance to complete the program they're registered in right now. So it won't hurt any of our current students. This is a long-term play. It'll take us 2 or 3 years to implement all of these plans, but a few programs will go away. And a lot of those programs are either close duplicates to other things that we offer or are low enrolled. Once we get those phased out, we're introducing some new ones, including some expansion into the engineering technology areas to ensure that we're providing the optimal set of structures for, or optimal set of programs for what our communities need. But underlying all of this is a rethinking of what the bachelor's degree is. Those of us who went to the university, any university some time ago, we picked a major, then we picked maybe a minor, and we left with those two things. Often, because of the structure of the classes, the major and the minor were in similar fields. When we had a chance to review that whole process, what students need to have when they graduate now is ultimate flexibility and knowledge in multiple areas. So the question we looked at is, how do we prepare an undergraduate student not only to have a major and a closely associated minor, but how can we provide them a broad education with a number of credentials so when they graduate, they will be informed and be able to talk about and be prepared to work in multiple fields. So we're reducing the number of minors, which require around 24 credits each. We're significantly increasing the number of certificates that are more like 9 credits each.
Okay.
And so that allows a student, and it looks like a lot of programs are going away, but this is allowing a student to pick a major and up to 2, 3, 4 certificates so that when they sit in a job interview, they don't just say, I got a degree in business and a minor in finance. They can say, well, I studied business. I have a major in this area. And I've got a whole series of certificates to help me. I can do a certificate in mental health technician. I can do a certificate in nutrition and performance. I can do a certificate in athletic coach. There are a whole list of certificates that we are offering that allows a student to round out their education in new ways. So a lot of the focus has been on what's going away, but really it's a rethinking of what a student should learn, know, and be able to do upon graduation.
All right, so let me get my arms around it as a non-academic. When you're talking about certificates, it's really proficiencies and technical proficiency. Is that what you're really gunning for there?
Yes. So it's to broaden the student's experience. The whole idea of a liberal arts-based education is a student learns to think in new environments. And so I think over time we've come to the point that undergraduates are kind of siloed into one area early on, and they stick with that. We're saying that's not quite good enough to meet the demands of this new economy. And so we're expanding that. But you're exactly right. They'll get their major in their content area. They'll still, all of these certificates are academically based and academically oriented classes, but they're to push a student beyond their major, get them out of a silo, get them into areas they may not lean into initially, and so they'll have a broader skill set when they're done.
We've got this dilemma, and again, walk with me for a second here.
Sure.
We have this dilemma where, if you go back to the old days, if we go back to the classics, right? We learned Greek and we learned the classics, and it was all about understanding about life, about critical thinking, debate, and so on. And then, it looks like we're swinging this pendulum over to, very practical experience. And the question I have is, how do we make sure that we still have critical thinkers and people that can develop their worldview while they're in, especially for those traditional students, those 18 to 24-year-olds. I'm just worried about we throwing out the baby with the bathwater. I mean, so much of being a humanities major for me was the idea of understanding humanity, understanding Western civilization, and how then shall we live, right?
That you just described perfectly well what the intent of a baccalaureate degree is. To help a student see the whole world in a new way, see different lenses through which they can view the world, to have the ability to step into somebody else's shoes, see the world that they see, understand their perspective, then step back out and have deep respect for somebody else's perspective. We are all in on that mission. A lot of that happens through what we have termed as general education. As part of this academic array review, we're launching an undergraduate course that'll be common across all face-to-face students. So they'll start with the same set of experiences that hopefully will accomplish exactly what you described: an introduction to worldviews, an ability to think outside their own view and to see the world from different perspectives. So they'll get that as they go through the general education. They'll still embed that within their major. We're then pushing it to the junior and senior level to say, yes, we want to have you have technical skills. We are, in some ways, a white-collar technical education, which is a term that's often used now. We are leaning into that mission, but we're not leaning at all away from critical thinking, fundamentally looking at the world in different ways, and helping people shape a perspective that they can respect all elements of humanity.
That's reassuring to me, honestly, because, well, and we're seeing this. I read a lot of the national news, right? And we're seeing that, and you'll hear it. Oh, why did I have to take philosophy, or why did I have to take, freshman English or whatever? Well, don't you need to know how to write? Don't you need, why you take a speech class so you could speak, whether you're speaking to your boss, as a plant supervisor, or in the healthcare field, right? And so on. Anyway, that it is reassuring. I'm going to take my first break. Dr. John Anderson is with us from PennWest. We have the president with us here. We're going to take 90 seconds. Stay with us. It's Talk Erie. You've got Talk Erie on your radio at 105.9 WZTE. Dr. John Anderson of PennWest is with us here. Okay, Doc, let's get to the Keystone experiences. I want to find out what these are about.
Excellent. So one of the big initiatives we're pushing forward with this new academic array is the idea that any student can pick where they want to end up and then create their own path to get there. For example, one of the complaints in healthcare is that we have a lot of people who are smart clinically, but may not understand business. And so we have the ability for a student to get an undergraduate degree in business, a certificate in pre-physical therapy or pre-pharmacy, pre-occupational therapy. They can merge those together. Once they merge those together, they finish not only knowing the clinical side, but also the business side. Now, that's what we do in the classroom. One of the big initiatives that we're pushing forward with this new academic array is we're accompanying all of those with a set of experiences that happen outside the classroom. So we are significantly increasing our clubs and organizations. We're significantly increasing our experiential learning through our career centers and other places. And so when a student's done, they not only have a lot of knowledge they've gained, skills and abilities in the classroom, in multiple functional areas or disciplines, they can walk into a job interview or apply to a graduate school or professional school and say, not only did I succeed in the classroom, I led this club, participated in this organization, I had these internships and clinical experiences. And so we're focusing on expanding outside the classroom to ensure that students are prepared to live in the real world, not only have the knowledge to succeed in their chosen occupation.
So it really goes to, that intangible of college life, of building communities and cohorts and collectives as you kind of live life together, right? I mean,
certainly, and a lot of that happens naturally,
right?
But we're still dealing with students who spent up to 4 years in a COVID environment as they work their way through K-12. And a lot of them need a little push outside the residence halls, which we've got great residence halls. I think they're too great because students spend too much time in them. We need them out engaging with each other. And so we're trying to build that outside of class experience. And so a student will come, they'll know how to associate with other people, they'll know how to lead. And a lot of the stuff we're doing outside the classroom isn't just to have a student show up and benefit from something, it's to have them show up and lead something. And so they'll leave a set of experiences. They can walk in and say, I not only know and did well, and here's my GPA, but they can say outside the classroom, I led a group of 20 people to do this. I worked with these organizations to do that. I got an email today from one of our students down at the Cal campus who has a particular interest in politics, working with someone on their campaign right now, wanting to make some connections with the way that they're engaged on campus. And it's those kinds of keystone experiences that a student will get at PennWest, and we're going to continue to build those out as we strengthen the academic array, because we've got to, as the world continues to change, as the economics of everything that we deal with changes, we've got to prepare students not only to be smart, but to be socially and economically capable. And you do that by having them have applied experiential opportunities outside the classroom. And that's the heart of what the Keystone experiences are.
Well, it occurs to me that, you've got events and things. And, I was involved with the campus radio station. So I was a leader at the campus radio station. And so you're able to use your leadership gifts. My son, who went to Edinburgh, was involved with the university activity board. And so they were booking comics and concerts and, all that stuff. And you're using a whole different skill set, as a concert promoter or what have you. Are they still doing stuff? I mean, will they still bring in a comic or show a movie at the student center or something like that?
Yes.
Okay.
That student activity board is still live well, and it's run totally by the students.
Okay, good.
So they get a certain set of fee money, and it's their job to run the budget, to manage, to review proposals, to look through contracts. They do all of that work, and those are the exact kind of experiences that we hope all students have. And your example of the broadcasters that come out of Edinburgh, if you look at what we do in animation and the arts on the Edinburgh campus, all of those are extremely applied. And as soon as the weather breaks, we have some sun, you'll see students all across campus selling their ware, their arts, their exhibit, their sculptures that they put together. And so we're focused on not only can they pass a test, not only can they apply their learning in the classroom, they get real world experience. And so when they graduate, that shock of actually having to make money and having to have a job and having to show up isn't the adjustment that it could otherwise be. So we're preparing them to live in society, to work in organizations, to make sure that they're functioning well, in addition to providing them with the training in the classroom that they receive.
I got about 3 minutes before the break. I want to ask you specifically about the Department of Education. I've had major conversations with the Pennsylvania DOE, folks here at the Erie School District about the teacher shortage. What do you think that PennWest is doing on an active basis to be more attractive for potential teachers? Because we have this teacher shortage in PA.
Yes, that it's a significant problem, and no one person organization is going to solve it. At PennWest, we created a school of education just to help address this. And we have already and have had for 150 years great programs that prepare teachers for the classroom. I would put our education up against any other institution in this area. Education is one of our largest majors on campus, and in some disciplines, whether it's secondary or elementary, it is the largest major on campus. And so we are doing a great job preparing the teachers who come to us wanting to major in education to do that well. The question for all of us, K-12, us in higher education, and the government is how can we make the job of a teacher more attractive to more students? And so we get more teachers in the pipeline. We're working closely with the intermediate units to figure out how we can do that, how we can get more teachers to come through the pipeline. And that School of Education will become the hub of that conversation moving forward. And we're working closely with the I units to bring a lot of their teacher training onto campus.
Oh, wow.
And so they're interacting directly with our faculty and staff. As a matter of fact, in Cal on Monday morning, we have 300 or 400 teachers that will be on campus to receive their PDE credits. And we're talking with them. We're connecting directly with our faculty. So it's a unified front, a unified effort to address the teacher shortage across Pennsylvania. And PennWest is perfectly positioned to do it.
Honestly, Dr. Anderson, who would have thunk it? Because the narrative about Pennsylvania is 10 years ago, you couldn't get a gig. It was all full. You got your teaching degree at Edinboro. You had to go to South Carolina or Virginia, get your feet wet. You get a couple years of experience, and then try to get into one of these districts up here. It's not like that anymore. This is a huge problem. We've got to address it. Even in Erie County, we have a significant shortage of teachers. I think we could use about 350 teachers, not in every district, but in many of them.
Yeah. And I don't think a lot of students understand what a great profession that is.
Yes. Yeah. Hang on. We've got Dr. John Anderson with us here. We are talking about PennWest and some significant academic moves here. Back in 4 minutes after the news on Talk Erie. Thanks for tuning in to Talk Erie and the Joel Natale Show, live from our Kingdom Financial Group studio. We're having a significant conversation here, a crucial conversation with Dr. John Anderson. He is live on Zoom as we talk about some major connection and transition at PennWest University. Dr. Anderson, in the release, it talks about that 1,300 students participated in talking about what kind of desired academic experience that they might want to have. A lot of data gathering with all of this.
So when we looked at the academic array, we know we want to provide the optimal student experience for undergraduates, for graduates, face-to-face students online. We knew we had to listen to two voices, for sure. In addition to faculty and staff, we had to listen to what the students wanted. We also had to listen carefully to what industry wanted. And there's a lot of industry data that's available. You can look at zip codes and SOC codes and all the details about which are the most needed professions in the future. We pulled all that data together. We also wanted to hear the student voice, and so we gave students an opportunity to respond. Over 1,300 students responded, and they talked a lot about the student experience they're having. Overall, it's fantastic. It's really a positive experience that we heard back. We listened to them about the nuances of how we deliver instruction. So we have some classes that are face-to-face, traditional face-to-face experiences. We have some that are hybrid, meaning they do some work outside the classroom, some face-to-face. We have some that are various synchronous or asynchronous modalities, meaning that you may be taking a special class that's only offered on the Cal campus, even though you're an Edinburgh student. And you can zoom in and watch the class. So our ability to deliver that whole range of possibilities drastically expands a student's access to courses they wouldn't have otherwise. That was one of the key concepts of developing PennWest, and we've been able to implement that well.
Are there campuses, though, that are like, okay, this is their bailiwick, you should really think about moving there? I'm thinking about the animation at Edinburgh. I mean, that art piece there. Would students from across Western PA say, okay, if I really want to do this, I better go to the borough, you know?
Certainly. So if you look at each of our campuses and online, each of them play a critical role in their local communities. And because of that, there's a huge overlap in kind of the core offerings.
Okay.
If you look across all of education, all of business, nursing is a good example. We have not had face-to-face nursing on the Cal campus. We're starting that and building that out. We had not had an ASN on the Edinburgh campus. We've started that in the fall. And so that core offering to serve the local community will be offered across all three of our campuses. As much as we can will also be offered online. And so that'll be a similar experience. But you're exactly right. In addition to that, and on top of that, whether that's 15, 20, 30% of what we offer, each campus has their own kind of set of unique programs. The animation one in Edinburgh is a perfect example. Our MFA up there that prepares people to teach in the arts and to practice in the arts is another great example in the Edinburgh campus. So each campus has their little bit of a flavor. There's some medical focuses that aren't in other places on the Clarion campus, some specific engineering programs, engineering technology things in the Cal campus, but those are in addition to the bulk of what we do and where the majority of our students are.
That's going to be a kind of a big leap for PennWest to get into the engineering field, because that was always a distinctive, right, of the Pashy schools were the teacher schools, and the engineering and agriculture was Penn State, right? So it's going to be a little bit of a mashup, huh?
It is, and we have really done a good job on kind of the biology, wildlife, environmental science areas. We're well into that now. We have a fantastic mechatronics program, which is kind of the lead into engineering. Fortunately for us, Pashy has already gone into the engineering space. Several of the schools have that. We're transitioning some of our programs from an engineering technology, which is kind of the applied hands-on, to add the engineering piece. We hope to do that over the next coming years. But we feel it's something we have to do at our price point. Because right now there's a group of people who may not be able to reach an expensive engineering degree. We can provide that at a price point that they'll be able to have it.
Let's talk about what you're calling enhancements in graduate programming. You are the largest provider of graduate education in the PASHE, 3,300 students. Talk about the adjustments you're making in the grad school.
So it's interesting that at the graduate level, we assume that students got a bachelor's degree in an area of their interest. Many, many times students finish their degree, they work in that profession, and then at some point they're like, well, I want to change lanes a little bit. I want to do something a little bit different. We have a lot of students who get an undergraduate degree in business, go straight in, get an MBA, work a 40-year career in business, wildly successful. We're not changing any of that. Same thing can be said for education. We also provide these transition paths. And I'll tell you one we're really successful at right now is in speech and language pathology. That is a huge, huge need, both at the pediatric level and the geriatric level. We have a lot of people who may be recovering from a stroke that need to learn how to talk again. We have young kids that need to learn how to talk. They have a lisp or something they're working through. So we launched this year, earlier this year, a fully online master's degree in speech language pathology. For that program alone, we can fit 80 to 100, depending on the cohort size. We have 500 or 600 applicants from across the country.
Wow.
The largest number of students in that program from any state outside of Pennsylvania is California, the one on the West Coast. And we've got a lot of students coming to that program because it's one of the few ways that they can receive the credential, receive the license, practice locally, but finish online so they don't have to stop working. It's examples like that that we're rolling out across the board in many forms of nursing, in many forms of education, in business, and a whole series of other fields that we'll have 24 master's programs, 4 doctoral programs, which are running very healthy right now, and a whole series of credentials underneath that will allow people to do these lane changes I talked about, move a different career, or extend their career at higher levels within an organization.
What are the doctoral programs that are available at PennWest?
So we have a doctorate in criminal justice. We have an EDD, it's a DCJ, an EDD in education, administration, and leadership. We have a doctorate in health science and a DNP, which is a doctorate of nurse practice. And they're all fully online.
Unreal. Okay. Let's talk a bit about when you say the global campus. This is the opportunity to kind of expand beyond Western Pennsylvania, which, let's face it, is still in population decline or at least stagnant, right? How is it all market? How do you market a global campus when you're up against lots of people that have global campuses?
It's so interesting. If you dig into the research on where students actually end up attending, online students, the far majority of them attend an institution they're familiar with and is often within 50-mile radius of where they live.
Interesting.
And so, yes, we do reach out across the world, and we've got students from many different places studying exercise science, business, a whole range of degrees. But this is a way for us to get to the working professional in Western Pennsylvania and the surrounding area in ways we couldn't otherwise. I used to be an MBA director earlier in my career. I started programs that were evening programs in different locations, and it was hard for someone to work a full day, come to a 3 or 4 hour class at night, get up the next day, work a full day, find time to. As we move to this asynchronous online environment, that same student can work a full day, go home with their family, have dinner, walk into the next room, click on the computer, and be able to gain their education through a different modality, but equally as quality, and be able to continue in ways and have more of a full life while they work their way through it. So it's a great way for someone to get graduate education. But we focus heavily also on Pennsylvania. That is our mission. We are a state-owned institution. Our whole focus is on elevating people and communities in Western Pennsylvania. And even our global campus, we don't get too far from that.
Where is AI both as a tool and also something to learn about coming into play in how you see higher ed going here?
So I think PennWest, we've been very intentional and smart about the way that we've approached AI. We are not the type of institution that is going to do a lot of creating of the infrastructure or the systems of AI. We are the type of institution that are going to teach people to use AI in new and modern ways. That's the niche that we've created. We created the Center for Artificial Intelligence and Emerging Technologies. The whole goal of that center, and it is wildly successful. Dr. Camille Dempsey, she speaks in many different places across the state, serves on boards of all kinds. She leads that effort for us. And the whole goal isn't to make more coders that can create more AI. It's not about building the AI infrastructure, which are important things, and we prepare people in other ways to do that. This whole goal is to say, how can we do what we're doing, enabling us to use AI to do it better? So that's our focus. And I'll give you a couple of examples of how we're rolling that out. We are in the middle of a brand campaign refresh and a brand launch, which is a new way for us to connect to markets. The whole embedded part, the whole underlying idea of that brand launch is the statement within reach. We want to be the institution that no matter where you are, we are within reach for you to get the education, the credential you'd like. So that is the brand idea. To make sure that we're communicating that consistently, we used AI, have an AI co-pilot, that any one of our faculty and staff, if they want to share the message of PennWest, they can have ideas about how they want to share it. They put it into our developed, trained AI tool, and it'll spit out that language back within that branding. And so we can be consistent in the way that we share a message, no matter which one of our 1,400 employees is talking about the institution. So those tools are developed. We're using them across the institution, and they're available to anyone. And so it's really enhanced our ability to have a clear message that is shared succinctly and consistently. So when someone thinks about PennWest, they get the same image in their mind. So those are a few examples of how we're using it right now. But we are fully in on AI, fully leaning into it, and fully leaning into preparing students that when they graduate can function helpfully and successfully in an AI environment.
We've talked about the demographic cliff and, just the struggles that all of higher ed is going through. And my editorial comment is it just still seems like the bigs, what do they call it? The R1s are not nearly struggling as hard as everybody else, right? Yet I'm not sure Michigan is clutching their pearls. You know what I mean?
That is very true. And a lot of the big schools have been very smart. They've developed multiple platforms, hit multiple markets. If you look at Penn State, their global online campus, a lot of the big research schools have linked into that, like Arizona State. They're doing well, and they have an easy way to adjust. If they want to get 30,000 students in and they don't get them with their regular market, they can just lower admission standards a little bit, and they pull in a whole other group. Our mission, and I've been at regional institutions my entire postgraduate career, I love this mission. And we're not about growing outrageously. We're not about serving elites. We are solely focused on elevating communities. And so any student who is questioning their ability to succeed, we train some of the best and brightest students from around the globe. And if you talk to our students who are well prepared, they are wildly successful. But we are equally successful with that student population who the high school student GPA may be a 2.7. They're questioning whether or not they can succeed. They want to learn, but haven't really been necessarily prepared because they haven't applied themselves. That's our prime market. That's who we are, and we want to make sure that we don't get away from serving that piece. You talk about the demographic cliff. We're lucky with the counties that we serve primarily, and we serve all across the state, 60-some-odd counties across Pennsylvania. But for those that are our primary markets, a lot of the demographic cliff has already hit. Okay. And so our shrinking in Western Pennsylvania has already happened. Other areas of the state, it's still forthcoming. And so we should be fairly stable as we move forward. And we watch those numbers very carefully.
All right. So give an invite to those parents or grandparents that have that either that college or the high school junior about to take their SATs, or maybe it's somebody that took a gap year and they're just kind of tired of doing the Uber and playing Nintendo Switch in the basement. Give an invite to check out PennWest.
I think the first choice any student needs to make is to do something. The worst case is just like you described, sitting in the basement, wondering what to do and not taking action. If that student wants to go into the trades, we celebrate that. That's a success. If they want to go into some type of manufacturing, we celebrate that's a success. But if they want to go into one of these scores of professions that require an academic credential, you're not going to find the high quality, low price option that PennWest offers. PennWest was designed to be an innovative university that delivers high quality education through multiple formats. If a student comes face to face in Clarion, Edinburgh, or California, they not only have access to the faculty and resources on that campus, but on the other two physical campuses and on Global Online. If you're looking for a place that will prepare you professionally to succeed, that will prepare you outside the classroom to have the experiences that you can function in healthy ways in a professional environment, and have multiple modalities to get you there, in addition to having the traditional campus experience, you're not going to find a better option than PennWest. And it is a forward-leaning, fabulous community to be part of. And we hope that every one of those students wants to join our more than 206,000 alumni across the world.
Beautiful. Dr. John Anderson, the president of the Pennsylvania Western University. Thank you so much for taking the time and sharing and your candor here. I am, again, I'm a big proponent of people growing up during those critical years, learning their critical thinking skills. And what is often not mentioned but needs to be is you build relationships for life. You think about your buddies from undergrad. Oh, my God. I mean, you're still connected and viscerally, I mean, again, they're your family. And that's where you build that,
Yeah. And I hope that every student gets the opportunity to have those connections, because they are so essential for the rest of your life.
Beautiful.
And Joel, appreciate what you're doing. Appreciate the invitation to be with you.
You got it here. It's 8 minutes in front of 5 o'clock. Thanks for tuning in to Talk Erie.